Now, exciting, we have some of the pioneers, or the pioneers, of what I call assisted reality. A long-term friend and partner of the area. And Kristen, looks like we're going to hand over to you to start with from RealWear, and I believe Chris is going to join as well. So give it up for Kristen, and questions as well, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, good morning. Everybody up and awake? I hope you had a good Texas-style steak dinner last night. If you didn't and you're vegetarian, that's cool too. Hope you had a good dinner. My name is Kristen. I work for a company called RealWear. Have any of you guys heard of RealWear? Raise your hand if you've heard of our company. Just want to get a gauge. I don't get a lot of chances to do this. Okay, so if you haven't heard of RealWear, I'm also glad you could join us so we can tell you a little bit about our company. We'll do that in a moment. But we really wanted to take this chance. It's not often we get all of you industry experts here in one place. And it's a really special time. So we wanted to just be able to share what we're doing as a company with all of you here today. So who are we? Anybody seen this story before? You might think that this is a joke. You might think that this is trying to be funny, but actually, our very first device is Boba Fett's rangefinder. How many of you knew that? This is the HMT-0. And the cool thing about working at RealWear is it's very simple in the fact that we've had the same vision since day one. So over the last 15 years, we've taken this vision of being reality first and digital being second. And I know for some of you in this room, that's probably so backwards. How many of you guys work in totally immersive spaces? Just one, I know that that's not true. I've got a friend back here who works in complete immersive VR. Who else? Yeah, there's a lot of people in this room that always come up to me and they ask, hey, why is it always a monocular display? And you see, this design has been the same. And that's because our workers, they don't work in a corporate office. Boba Fett wasn't working at a corporate office. Our workers are working out there in the field, and they need to be hands-free. So our device is meant for that. It's meant for people to work more safely and more efficiently, and that's what we do. So what do we have going on right now at RealWear? I think in 2023, after all of those iterations you saw, we really hit the nail on the head with the Navigator 520. That's the device I'm wearing here today. We've got it on the showroom floor. And some of you in this audience are actually one of our very first customers out there. I mean, that's what makes you an industry pro, right? You're pioneering the latest tech. I've got some friends in the front here that had our very first HMT-1 about 5 years ago. How many of you tried the HMT-1? That's a big, take a look around, Chris, by the way, the inventor of the company. Look at how many people have actually tried our device. So if you haven't picked up a RealWear device since 5 years ago, you are going to be blown away with all of the things that have changed. It is such a great experience. The screen is so easy to see. All the pain points that we saw with the HMT-1, we listened, we improved, we made it lighter weight, but still super rugged. So you've probably heard our devices is pretty rugged, right? Do you guys get that memo? I mean, can you imagine dropping something like, you know, a couple $1,000 device and it being scared it's gonna break? Well, we oftentimes just chuck our devices all over the place because we know that they are so rugged and so durable and they're meant for that type of worker. So everything about this product, whether it be that you need to work in a loud environment, you're working on top of a wind turbine, it's super windy, it's super loud, or you're just tossing it in the truck. This is meant for that specific worker. So when you come up and you ask us why we do it this way, that's exactly why, because we're solving these problems that are out in the field. This device was so well received that we actually made a second version that's almost identical, but it's meant for the intrinsically safe environments. Now, I found this to be pretty shocking because I've never worked with thermal technology before. And I've never worked with things like FLIR cameras. So when we launched the Navigator, we launched it with a FLIR thermal camera, which that was the first for me, first for a lot of people in our space. And I was really surprised at how often people were ordering this accessory. I have never seen, working my 5 years at RealWear, something be ordered so often with an accessory like that. So starting November 12th, we're actually shipping our Z1, which is the intrinsically safe version, this one right here, with the thermal camera out of box. So, not to scare you, it's not that you just get a thermal camera. You're gonna have a dual camera that has the regular high resolution camera, the main camera, with the thermal camera as well. Because people were just ordering it that way anyway. So we like to make things simple. We like to make things simple all around. I've gotta go back one slide because I feel like this doesn't get enough love. We have a program called RealWear Cloud. So everybody in this room knows how important it is when you do a deployment to actually keep your eye on it. I've got some friends in here that I've worked with through their deployments, and if you're not able to keep your eye on what's going on, where the products are actually being used, where your investments are actually being maximized, it's really hard to make judgment calls, wouldn't you agree? I mean, you want to know what divisions, which sectors, which users are really taking this on and becoming your champions within companies like Honda, right? Companies like Nissan. And you can make some judgment calls. You know, this isn't working. This is working really well here, and we need to scale where the opportunity is. So this software lets you do that very easily. So if you didn't know we have it, it's called RealWear Cloud. Okay, so now what have we learned? It's been quite a few years, and I love that we were introduced as the pioneers in this technology, and I feel like this industry isn't that old, so pretty proud to hear that. We've learned a lot along the way, and I think we've really dialed in over the last few years. And some of our partners in this room who we're so lucky to work with, Kelly right here in the front, CB Tech, if you haven't met her, she's great. Some of our partners have really seen this over the last few months especially, where we figured out where we fit in the best and where people are getting the most bang for their buck. There's no guessing game anymore. We know which softwares are the best and working fantastic. We know which partners are gonna do a great job deploying our products. And we know where we just hit a slam dunk with ROI every time. So if you take a look at these verticals, it's not so much about the companies that are listed up here, but these verticals are where we're doing things, and I know this sounds dramatic, quite literally saving lives. If you go to a company and you say, hey, our product is gonna help save lives, you think somebody's gonna look at you straight in the face and say, no, I'm not interested? Every single time we come in there, we're able to solve some real serious problems. Going into healthcare, you know, in the ambulance, in the emergency room. I mean, this stuff is so impactful. If you go into companies, let's say, for example, stuff we deal with every day. You want your car back quicker from the dealership. Who's dealt with that struggle, having to sit and work from a car dealership, trying to take your conference calls as a consumer? Helping get your car back on the road faster. And another one that sits close to me is, you know, dealing with natural disasters that might happen in your city, getting your city back up and running quicker. These are real problems that we're solving, and that's why we've more turned into this absolute necessity over time versus this luxury exclusive product that we started with in 15 years ago when you would only see this in movies, right? You only saw it on Boba Fett. You only saw it in these futuristic movies. And now with these use cases that we've really seen some huge impact, we get excited to sit on our calls every week and talk about what we're doing and what customers we're helping because they're just so impactful. All right. I'm gonna bring somebody up to the stage who is way more interesting than me, so hang tight. So what do these companies do to get kicked off? I often get the question, okay, hey, what's my competitor doing? How are they doing it? And one thing that's really stayed true throughout time of, especially me being here at RealWear, is it's been really easy just to get started with something like a remote mentor solution. So what does that mean? How many people in this room, when they have a question or they need help, they get on Microsoft Teams? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's almost every single person in this room. So imagine you're working, again, on top of a wind turbine, super loud, super noisy, super windy, and you need help. Are you going to be able to make a phone call and call your expert back in the office or your expert somewhere else? How do you think that call is going to go? I mean, I can't even make a call outside at a pool, let alone if I'm on the top of a wind turbine. So this is going to be the product that's going to help you do that. With Remote Expert, we see such slam dunks in easy ROI to prove right out the gate. And the adoption is so simple because a lot of these products are very familiar. A lot of the solutions are stuff that we use every day, but now you can take them hands-free. And an announcement for today, if you use RealWear products or you use Microsoft Teams, we actually have the latest version of Teams that's rolling out today on our cloud, and it is even more easy to use than ever and optimized for use with the thermal camera. So you can get that today. It's a free download. All right, so going into the next part of this, I want to bring up our inventor. If you haven't met him, he's the current CEO at our company as well. And he's going to tell you more about how we've scaled from 1 to 100 devices into the thousands at some of the biggest companies in the world.
Thank you, Kristen.
You're
That's
welcome.
a lot of energy to follow. I'll try not to put everyone to sleep. But good morning, everyone. My name's Chris, CEO at RealWear. Happy to be here, second year in a row. Great audience. We did advertise this whole session about how to scale and stories of success, and that's what I want to focus on now. I think the bottom line is, it's not just about having a really good device. You've got to have a whole ecosystem around you. You've got to have software, you've got to have partners, you've got to have integrators. You've got to have the whole lot. And when you put all of those together, we've got a big history now of large-scale deployments. If you look on the screen, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 icons I've just pulled out of some of our biggest deployments there. Samsung, Ford, Pepsi, Nissan, Coca-Cola, and Uniting. These are all multiple thousands of devices going out in the field. We've got particularly citing is Ford, right? Ford is, we have headsets like this in every Ford dealership in the US and Canada and around the world as well. We're expanding there. And in a similar vein, we've got them in Nissan. What's interesting here is the way that both of these operate. They both provide the same service in that an auto mechanic, if he or she is unfamiliar with the car at hand, can put the headset on and dial up the expert mechanic or the master mechanic in Detroit, wherever that might be, and they can get instant help through the hands-free system. And the result is, the car gets fixed, the customer gets their car back earlier, they're happier with the whole service. Both of these companies have done a big rollout over the last few years, but how they've rolled out is quite interesting. And if you guys are out here thinking that you're going to do something similar, I'll give you 2 variations of the theme. What Ford did, Ford decided that this is an essential tool, and they put it into their central catalog. And they bought a headset for every dealer, and they sent it to every dealer.
I have to correct you. They bought 2.
Thank you. They bought 2. I love it. Right, good. They bought 2 headsets, and they sent them out to every dealer with software on it, ready to go. Great. The dealers had this incoming device, and they had a bit of training, and there it is, hanging on the wall there. And when they need it, they put it on and they use it. Nissan, on the other hand, said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to qualify the device and put it into our central catalog, but we're not going to give them away for free. We're going to charge our dealers to have it, but we're going to incentivize the dealers. So today, a dealer, if they need to get their expert help, they can do it on the telephone or they can do it on the smartphone, and now they can do it with a headset. When they do this, they request help. And it may take a day, may take 2 days for the help to come back. So they put in an email or they put in a phone call, and then help comes back. What they did was they incentivized to say, if you use a headset, you go straight to the top of that priority list and you get almost instant help. So now all of a sudden, the dealers are going, wow, there's real value to this. So it's very interesting the way it's rolling out differently. So Ford actually has about 3 times as many headsets in the field, but maybe they're not as valued as much because they were free to the end user. Whereas Nissan has 1/3 of that, but they're valued because they've been brought in and there's a real perceived value. So I'll let you figure out which is the best way for your particular companies. Just a couple of examples for you there. Another interesting part to this whole conversation is at the top of the screen is a company called TeamViewer. There's many different software varieties on this headset, but there's a couple that stand out that are common in just about every large deployment we have.
Definitely.
And that's TeamViewer. TeamViewer puts software on here, and it goes out to the partners through people like CB Tech, for example, who take this out there. And I think the reason TeamViewer is successful is that they are large enough to be able to support global rollouts. That means not just having the software, but it means having business studies there, people to go in and help do ROI studies. It has security at the back end to help with this large-scale deployment. It has everything you need, I think, to enable success. Whereas some of the, if you just go, for example, with Microsoft Teams only, we're seeing people stalling out about 50 to 100 devices because they don't really have a whole company there supporting it. So interesting, it's about picking the right partner and picking out the right ecosystem.
I got a question for you.
Please.
So we talked a lot about the thermal camera. I feel like that's my upcoming theme today. Besides the thermal camera, we've seen a lot of interest with other compatible accessories that make this even more sticky. How is companies like Ford integrating other hardware with RealWear to make it a bigger solution?
It's almost as if we met and planned that. Thank you. So let me jump to the next slide and talk about what we're doing now. So in a way, we've got a beachhead. We've now got thousands of devices out in the field where they were bought initially for the simple ROI of Remote Mentor. Now, how can we enable more usage out of these devices? So in the auto mechanic world, it's very easy. Number of things we're doing. First, we're partnering with a company called Inspectron. Inspectron have 2 cameras. One is a handheld inspection camera. It looks like a flashlight, but it's actually a Wi-Fi camera. You can wear the headset, boom. You can now take your handheld flashlight camera and you can be inspecting underneath the chairs, inside of engines, behind fan blades, places where I'm not going to get my camera on the headset. And that is now streamed live to my headset, so I can just reference the screen and see what's going on. And it can also be streamed out over to the remote expert via TeamViewer's frontline software, for example. So this is a very useful tool for a lot of people. The other Inspectron camera is a borescope camera. This is that long, thin tube camera that you can stick down into valves, into tubes, and see what's going on inside. And another essential tool for a lot of the mechanics are loving this. And again, you can now see the results of that in real time on the screen on your head. It's pretty sweet. So that's the additional cameras that you can buy. Built to our headsets is the thermal camera. On the Navigator Z1, it is out of the box standard. For this device, our main Navigator 520, the thermal camera is simply an accessory that you purchase and you clip on to the headset like that.
Simple.
Our headset is pretty modular and it allows for future-proof expansion. So with this in place now, I have a thermal camera from FLIR, which allows me to see the heat of the room or the cold of the room, and I can actually blend that with the visible camera and start to really infer what's going on around me. So for example, if I'm looking at a fuse box, I might see 20 or 30 wires leading into the fuse box. If one of those wires is starting to corrode, it will cause more resistance. That in turn causes more heat. So I can quickly see, with the visible eye, I can't see any difference. With a thermal camera, I can see a hot spot showing me there's something about to corrode and about to blow up. So preventative maintenance with thermal is a real thing, and it's a really useful thing for a lot of people.
And if you haven't seen this thermal camera, we have multiple of them at the booth, so come by and check it out. It's a pretty awesome demo, and it just works so easy out of the box. I have another question for you. And this topic has been the buzz everywhere, not just in our industry, but AI, everything is AI. What is RealWear doing with AI? So where do you see, being a reality first, digital second, where do you see RealWear incorporating AI to really help our workers and what we do?
AI, yeah, fascinating subject. I believe it's spelt A and an I. A lot of people, when we look at AI, they're all using Meta glasses, right? Meta's done a really good job with their Ray-Ban glasses. They've got a camera there, and they're using AI. And what we heard yesterday was they were surprised at the rate of adoption of their glasses without a display. You don't need a display if you've got a good AI system talking to you all the time and you're able to interact. And we sort of take and believe in the same approach. A display becomes less important with a good AI head on, as it were. So we looked at what are the biggest pain points that people have with our particular job, the frontline workers. We give them all the great tools to do inspection, take photographs, do thermography. But at the end of the day, most of our workers have to write some sort of report or do some sort of checklisting. And that's pen, paper, checklist, whatever.
Not only that, it takes two people because you have somebody else in the back office that quite literally has to input that in some sort of computer system too. So it's painful for more than one person. And a lot of you work with a lot of these industries out there where they're doing incident reports or shift changes, and there's so much documentation, and it's so painful.
So wouldn't it be better if we used AI just to allow me to talk naturally to the headset, and it records everything I'm doing and fills in checklists for me or fills in incident reports? That's the demonstration I just want to run through for you now. It's one we did last night. I didn't get a chance to record the audio, but you'll see when we play it that I'm talking, and you just talk openly. In this case, we're saying, I was servicing the 737 MAX last night and noticed a large scratch on the tail fin, which I think may have been caused by a bird strike. Now, you can add in all the ums and ahs and the propositions you want. The AI will strip all of that out and automatically reformat your text into something more of a technical presentation. Gives you a lovely title there, large scratch found on 737 MAX tail. And then it talks about what you've said and formats it for you. But that may not be enough. As part of the solution here, you may say, well, every incident report must have certain details in it, like the location, the person, the place. So you can add more information there. For example, you can now say, add more. So it then prompted me and said, well, tell me more about the scratch. How big was it? So I've now said, well, the scratch was 5 to 10 inches long. So again, I have a natural dialogue with my headset, and it formats it into this sort of now technical report.
What I really like about this, as somebody who came from a training background, is that a lot of times people don't actually know how to write an effective report. They leave out all the most important details. So the actual reason of why you're reporting it gets lost. So with AI, it's going to pick up on what you're missing and ask you for those missing details, which just keeps the training process down so much because it takes years to get to be a master at writing a good report. I know that sounds silly, but it really does.
Well, thank you. And then, so in a day-to-day application of this, for example, if you are at the local Jiffy Lube or you're at the local oil change place and you need to walk around a car and do an inspection, you can now walk around and just say, front left tire, 33 PSI, back right, air's low, I've added a bit more air. So you can actually just record the steps as you go along, and by the time you've finished your job, you have a now fully formatted report. And as part of this, you can take photographs, you can add thermal in there, and just build a nice, pretty report. And then the final step is, let's send the report somewhere. In this case, we can send it via email, or we can drop it into Microsoft Teams, or with a bit more integration, drop it right into SAP or some backhaul there. That is the value of AI for our headset. It's that conversational speech to make the frontline worker just so much more effective. So this is something we're rolling out through partners. We don't per se have a direct solution. We work to customize a solution through partners for the customer because everyone's needs are a little bit different. But it's pretty cool stuff.
I like this though because it's ready today as it is as you see it right now. So it is a great thing to test out there and to build on additional use cases.
Please come by the booth, check it out. It's really quite impressive.
All right, we're down to our last minute, which just means a quick recap. I think we've all learned this lesson over the last few years. Start simple and scale smart. I mean, starting simple is the way to get things off the ground. We're not trying to overcomplicate things, put shiny objects in front of anybody. We're just trying to solve real problems today as they exist with the tools that we have. Partner-led approach for us, it's about the entire ecosystem. I still have a long way to go myself, meeting all of you experts out there in our industry. I've only been in this industry 5 years, and I've got a long way to go. But I'm quickly learning that the more we work together with the right people who are actually making good solutions, good partners to tie it all together, this is such a big key to success. And for you at your companies that are deploying, gathering that team internally to do the same thing to support you, it's just absolute key. That's like a recipe for success. And incorporating new things like, we have this new AI app and keeping up with the times. I mean, building on those additional use cases, just keep it going. Keep growing your ROI. You've got the headset. It's going to last you probably forever if you haven't seen us chuck it across the stage before. This thing is just, you are just not going to break it. So you might as well keep adding use cases over the years, over time, and keep growing your deployment. I have to say one more thing. First of all, thank you for your time. But also follow us on LinkedIn, because we've got more exciting things coming very soon. We're going to be announcing some things online. So if you don't follow us, find us on LinkedIn, and we'll be at the booth 415 for the rest of the show. We'd love to see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.